Happy Wednesday, wonderful people. I am Miss Brii with Wonderland Performing Arts, and welcome to Musical Theater Voice. So if you've been with us for the past month, we went all the way from the very beginning of just finding a song to performance over the course of a month. So since we've kind of got all of the basics down, we took it from the very beginning all the way to the performance part. We're going to talk about some more performance things that are a little bit more advanced. So we're going to talk about some advanced performance principles. All these are things to really keep in mind whenever you're working on your performance and you're practicing and you're getting ready for a performance that'll really take you to the next level. These are just next level things once you've got your basics. Now some of these things are very important things to keep in mind no matter the performance, but remember, even if you're still at step one, we want to make sure that we get as best as we can before that performance. And whether we can fit in all of the advanced performance principles we know about between the beginning and the performance is really up to you. If it's just not feasible for that time of preparation, then you know that that song's already prepared and you can just start with the advanced part whenever you sit down with it again. So, let's get started. The very first thing that we're going to talk about is a little bit of a musicality thing. So we're going to talk about stressing the first beat you sing on and sticking to your dynamics. So whenever we are learning our song and we're looking at the sheet music, we can kind of see when we come in. We can see where in the music, when we're following along, that we come in on beat 1, beat 2, beat 3, beat 4, beat 8, beat 12, whatever it is. Whatever beat you come in on, you want to make sure you come in strong. You want to make sure that your entrance is heard, because as soon as that entrance starts, if they hear you, their eyes are on you. You've got the attention that you need to keep it singing the line and telling the story and making sure everybody is paying attention to you. That's your moment to really be like, it's me, hello, look at me, it's my turn. So make sure you come in really strong on that first beat. And then when we talk about dynamics, in music, we're talking about how loud or soft you are getting in the music, whether you use a moment of building music to get louder and really belt and sell it and sing it and bring the house down, or whether you take a moment to get softer, to get reflective, to get a little introspective, to get a little in your head and sing about something that you're thinking about rather than trying to proclaim to the world. These are really important moments to think about whenever you're trying to think, should I be loud here? Should I be soft here? Should this be maybe a medium moment? You really need to take the different parts of your story and try to sculpt some kind of direction that you want to go in, and dynamics are an important part. If you just sing one volume the whole time, yeah, they'll hear you. Yeah, if you're acting, you'll sell it, but it's just that extra oomph that adds a little extra feeling. It gives it a little extra movement to the music when it's moving someone, to have that big and soft and just a swirl of different things, and contrast is what people like to hear in different music. So that's a very important one, trying to make sure that you are following even the dynamics in your music. The composer might have written some for you, so you don't really have to think about them yourself. You don't have to make the choice, it was already made for you. So if you see a little P in your music, you know to get softer. If you see a little F in your music, you know to get louder. If you see a little MP, it means get medium soft. If you see a little MF, it means medium loud. If you see F, 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 that means really loud. And if you see P, 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 it means really soft. Yeah, so let's write that down just so we can kind of let's think of this as the quietest, okay? So this one is shh, and then we'll think of the other one as the loudest. So we'll think, ah, cool, cool. So we'll take it from shh, this is where we have our P, 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 or even just a P, P. This is pianissimo, it just means really quiet. So if you see that, you want to get shh, really quiet with your singing. And then if you just see a P, it means quiet. It means just get quieter. That's a quieter part. So then you see MP, that's medium quiet. So wherever you were before, if you were an F or an MF, it means you want to get a little bit quieter from that MF, which is next, MF. That's what it'll look like. that's medium loud. So if you were medium soft, maybe get a little bit louder. If you are loud, get a little bit softer. Then we have F forte, loud. That just means get loud. That is just your first loud. But as you can see, we have a soft and a PP, very soft. So we probably have a loud and a FF, very loud. That's right, we have an FF, very loud. And then you can even see 5 Fs over there if they want you to be screaming. It's very rare that you'll see that in vocal music, but you see it in instrumental music a lot. So these are dynamics to be kind of aware of. It starts from the softest, pianissimo, piano, mezzo piano, mezzo forte, forte, and fortissimo. That's getting from the quietest all the way to the loudest. So that's just some dynamics to think about when you're working on your music. You want to kind of write these in so you don't forget. It's never a bad thing to take notes. So we've got that. Let's go on to the next. Oh, look, we'll erase this because we might need this later. So the next one that we're going to talk about is diction. Diction, like a dictionary. Whenever you are looking at words, we are saying words. It's how we say them. So we're talking about speaking clearly, making sure that we are clearly understood when we are speaking. Emphasizing consonants, because it's really easy for consonants, you know, those letters that aren't vowels, to get lost in music because they're not always voiced. We don't always have a voice behind them. When you're saying something like t, 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 you're not using your vocal mechanism to make a t sound. You're just using air in your tongue and your mouth. So it's kind of hard to hear a t over a whole orchestra behind you, you know? So we have to make sure that when we say things like t and d and b and a lot of those beginning and ending consonants, that we are very clearly using our teeth and our tongue to really shoot those consonants into the audience so they can hear it. That's something very, very important because you don't want it to just sound like you're singing, might sound pretty, but if you're not telling the story, they're not gonna know what's happening. So we need to make sure we keep that story in there and that everybody knows what's going on so they can follow along. So speaking clearly, emphasizing our consonants. This is when it's important to say we're always singing on vowels. Whenever we have consonants, we're not really singing on them, we're just saying them. So it's important that they're heard, but if we're singing, we want to make sure we get through them so that we can sing those vowel sounds, because those are the sounds that really resonate and it's what we're singing on. You know, if your mouth is closed making a sound, you're not so much singing as humming a word. So make sure that we are singing those long phrases, shooting those consonants out so very clearly, and making sure that we are speaking and can be understood. Another important part of this is to project to make sure that you are heard, especially if you're in a room that might not have very good acoustics and you might not have a microphone. You want to make sure that you're speaking loud enough that the people in the very back row can hear you. Those are the ones you want to aim for. I know it's easy to just talk to the people in the front because they're in your face, but the people in the back paid for tickets too, so you want to make sure that they can hear you. Try to act to the people in the back. If they can't see you, then they wasted their money on a ticket, and that's no fair. You want to make sure they can see you and hear you, and you never know, if somebody that you love gets stuck in the back, you don't want them to have, you know, a less fun time. You want to make sure they can still see and enjoy everything. So make sure you are big and loud and clear, and you really shoot those consonants out and you really sing that song for them to hear them and project your voice to the very back row. Cool? All right. So that was number 2, diction. Now this one is an interesting one. I really like this one. It's an acting part. We're going acting now. We touched on some musicality. Let's touch on some drama. So singing through your eyes. Singing through your eyes. Now think about that. I know we normally sing out of our mouth. I don't think that's gonna change. But if we sing through our eyes, what do you think that's saying? I think when we sing through our eyes, we are trying to sing the song to you, but maybe communicate what we mean through our eyes. Yeah? I think that's a good way to think of it. Another good way to think of it is whenever you're singing, imagine your voice just going through that front part of your face. Imagine your eyes like daggers. You're looking at the person you're singing at, or looking at your audience, or whoever you're looking at, and you want to make sure that this message gets to them. So imagine you're telling them with your eyes, and you're singing it through your eyes, so even if they couldn't see anything but your eyes, you want to be telling them that story. This is really important because it helps you really show emotion in your face. If you're trying to really tell things through your eyes are so expressive. There's so much that can be told just through the eyes alone. So making sure you're really showing that expression, and then also keeping placement of your voice in mind. Thinking about your singing. Whenever we're singing, especially for females, we want to make sure we keep our voice kind of up in our head so that it doesn't get too tired here in our chest if we use our chest voices too much. Using a good middle voice in our head range, or a good mix between your head and your chest, helps you kind of bridge the gap between your head voice and your chest voice, as well as saving some of your chest voice so that you don't get vocal fatigue too fast. That's what you're kind of doing here too. You're thinking about singing through your eyes. I like to think of it as singing through my unicorn horn. So just imagine having a unicorn horn on your forehead. When I'm singing really high notes or up in a higher register of my chest voice, I like to think about singing through my unicorn horn. I think about, if my voice was coming through here, how would I sing it? And I just try to send my voice up through my head so it resonates really well when it comes out of my mouth. And that's just a kind of way to think about placement and, you know, really sell a story. And it's just another step, another little sprinkle on our Sunday of beautiful performance. So let's see what we have next. Play out to the audience, especially when we're on stage. There's lots of little things that you see in movies. You can see an exchange, you can see two people passing something back and forth in the background, lots of stuff. Here's where theater is different. If there's a lot going on stage, it's kind of hard to know where to look. So you want to make sure that there's always, you know, people focusing on the focal point, whatever's going on and whatever the story is being told, not the merchant selling eggs in the back, unless, you know, that's part of the song, looking at you, Beauty and the Beast. But any other time, you want to really make sure you're focusing on the protagonist or antagonist of the song. This is trying to kind of greet your audience like a stranger. So remember where you are and what you're doing in the scene, but you want the audience to feel like part of it, right? That's how we all get into a show whenever we're watching. We think of ourselves as part of it. We're all just watching this thing go on together. The people on stage are watching it just like you're watching it in the audience. So when you're on stage, you need to make sure you're watching it just like the people in the audience. Otherwise, you might be bringing attention to you, and you don't want to do that if you're not the focal point. But playing out to the audience also means that if something is small, it might not be seen. We're gonna play it big. We wanna make sure that if we're extending our arm out, we're not just doing this. We're extending our arm out. We're making sure every movement counts and that everything is seen and clearly seen. And even if somebody is way in the balcony at the very top, if you're just, you know, handing something over, they need to see it. So if you just, you know, just taking a, here you go. They might not see that if there's a whole song and dance going on, so you need to show it to them. Let everyone see you're handing something to someone with a drastic flick of your hand. Take something and make it a little bit bigger. Little movements don't always make it all the way to the back row, or all the way to the balcony, all the way to the nosebleeds. You never know. So you need to make sure it's big and bold, no matter your audience, because it doesn't matter if it's a small crowd or a big crowd. You want to make sure that you're performing your absolute best for whoever it is. Yeah? Yeah. Make sure we're playing out to the audience and really showing them everything that they can see on stage, and that they see where you're going, and that they, you know, understand the purpose of the movement, because every movement on stage has purpose, right? Every movement that we make, every direction that we walk in has kind of been thought about and determined and planned and thought of and, you know, walked through at least once or twice once you get to the performance, right? I mean, probably more like 100, but we hope at least once or twice when we get to the performance. So, another really cool part is that the magic of musicals is the big movements, the big drama of it all, the song and dance, not just, hi, I'm this person and I'm gonna tell you a story, or, you know, stage plays. Stage plays need the same thing. When you're on stage, you can't just zoom in on a moment. You have spotlights that can kind of help you when you need to focus on something, but you can't just zoom in. The camera can't just zoom in on a moment so the audience sees that this really little thing that's happening is very important. You have to show them. The people in the back have to be watching. The people who are talking to each other or off stage who don't seem to have anything going on with it need to be watching, because if they look at the stage and they see, oh, well, that's where they're looking, that's where I'm gonna look, right? Yeah. So the magic of what we do is being able to tell a story because of what we're doing and not just what we're saying, right? That's why we watch anything and not just listen, because the songs are cool by themselves, yeah, but having someone in front of you singing them and just living it and being able to watch that and be part of that is the magic of going to a musical, right? Yeah, absolutely. All right, now those are the only 4 principles I have for today. We're gonna have a few more. I think there's 10 total, maybe 9. So we're gonna go through a little bit more next week and the week after and the week after that, and just keep going so that we can, you know, get some really cool stuff to really tack onto our repertoire of music and take our performance to the next level. So let's just do a quick review of what we've talked about so far. We talked about stressing the first beat of your song right when you come in, making sure that where you come in, you've really got that strong entrance and that the people's eyes are drawn to you and it's your turn to come in. So you get your moment, and making sure that you kind of got your dynamics. Stick to whatever dynamics you have planned or whatever's written in your music, and making sure you have a big moment and a small moment, and you really use that different way of expressing your music to make it your own and really tell your story. Diction. Number 2 was diction. We talked about speaking clearly, using consonants and trying to sing on our vowels, because we sing our vowels, but we say our consonants very clearly. Projecting, making sure that the back row can see and hear everything that you're doing. That way they get just the same experience as the people in the front. Number 3, singing through your eyes, making sure you're telling the story, really bringing life to your character by singing through the eyes, and even working on placement and giving yourself a little bit of a head start in placement and singing, because you're really using that as a communicator and as a reference of where to send your voice. And play out to the audience. Remember that it's got to be big if you want them to see it. So every little thing that goes on in the show needs to be big and noticeable and seeable from however many feet away. So it's got to be dramatic. They don't call these dramatic arts for nothing. We got to be dramatic. That's what we're all here for anyway, right? We love to be dramatic. All right, well, these were our 4 principles for this week. Tune in again next week to get a few more, and just keep adding sprinkles onto the beautiful Sunday that is your finished performance. Well, I'll see you guys next week. Happy Wednesday. Stay safe and stay home. Bye-bye.